My name is Sam. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at Fairygodboss. And Fairygodboss is the largest career community for women. Our mission is to improve the workplace by increasing transparency. We offer a ton of great free resources like anonymous company reviews, job listings, articles, virtual recruiting events, and so much more to help you succeed throughout your careers. Before we get started, we will be taking questions at the end of today's webinar. You'll find that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, so feel free to leave questions as yourself or anonymously. You have the option to do both, so if anything comes to mind, ask it there, and again, we'll get to as many as possible at the end. We are also recording today's webinar, so if you miss anything or you want to rewatch it back, you'll have the ability to do so. We'll email it out to you by the end of the day today, as well as post it to the Fairygodboss past events page, so you can always go back and find it there. Here with me today are Pam Rushing, Bridget Spencer, and Kelsey Story. Now, these ladies all work at the Hanover Insurance Group, and they all have really varying experiences there. So I'm really excited to hear from all of them. Thank you all for being here today with me. So let's start off immediately. I want to hear from each of you. Tell me about your career path and what attracted you to the Hanover Insurance Group. Pam, I'm going to come to you first with this one.
Awesome. Thank you. Good morning or good afternoon. So I started with Hanover about 10 and a half years ago. I joined in our Wisconsin office in our middle market division as the territory underwriting manager. What attracted me to this position was coming into Hanover in the Wisconsin branch at that time. We were really starting to grow that branch, and it was a pretty new opportunity. So I knew I would be able to get my hands dirty with building a new portfolio and kind of building on the ground floor a new branch and a new opportunity. So for me, that was really exciting. The second thing that attracted me to Hanover too was it was my first entree into having a team and management. So I was able to come in as a territory underwriting manager. So I could underwrite. I had a group of agents that I would underwrite for, but then I also had a team that I would manage. So it was my first step into management, which was a great opportunity for me to kind of like ease in, still have that underwriter day job and be able to manage at the same time. So just a really great opportunity for me, and I haven't looked back since then. So
that's awesome. Bridget, I'll come to you next if you want to tell us a little bit about your career path and what attracted you to the Hanover.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here with you. 28 years in the industry. I've got a wide variety of background: underwriting, business analysis, agency support, and contact center operations. I think what interested me about Hanover was really at that point in my career, I was really looking for new ideas, a fresh culture, and an opportunity to bring all of my leadership skills and my background into a different environment to learn something new. I came from a captive insurance structure and wanted to learn a lot more about the independent agency structure and expand that part of my business acumen within the insurance industry. And then I was also within that new ideas and new culture. I was looking to feel valued for what I was bringing for the table, and saw that very quickly in my interview process coming to Hanover. So I'm pretty excited to be able to be here and share what I know with Hanover and help Hanover grow.
Amazing. And then Kelsey, last but not least, can you tell us a little bit about your career path?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Kelsey. I've worked at Hanover for 4.5 years, which has been my entire career thus far. I started as an intern. I had friends and family that worked here, so I knew kind of in general that Hanover was a good company, but I didn't know too much besides that. But interning was such a great way for me to kind of be able to test out the company, to get a taste of kind of working in the insurance industry, understanding the company culture, and kind of the work that I could be doing as a potential full-time employee. And I had such a positive internship experience. I was given real meaningful work to do. Everyone was so supportive and helpful, and I never felt like just an intern. And so that just felt like such a great environment for me to start my career in. So I started full-time within our IT department, focusing on emerging technology trends and other project management initiatives, and spent 2 years there and then have been working on our innovation team for the past 2.5 years, which has been really fun, kind of running pilots across the company, testing new technologies and platforms, and just really challenging the status quo with thinking of new ways to do things, and excited for what's next for me here as well.
Amazing. And I love how each of you has such a varying experience at the Hanover, and each of you has been there for very different amounts of time. And I think that's going to give us a really interesting perspective with the rest of today's conversation, which kind of leads me into my next question is, what kind of career opportunities have you benefited from at the Hanover, and how has that impacted your career? And so, Bridget, I'm going to start with you because I believe you've been at the Hanover for the shortest amount of time.
Yes, it's I've got a slightly different perspective. It's been about 1 year and 2 months that I have been with the Hanover. I think it's really, for me, it's the beginning of what I expect to benefit from in Hanover. Having been here for just that short period of time, I've already really been supported for seeking opportunities. I think a lot of that has to do with what I've accomplished so far at Hanover, as well as the experience that I've brought to the table. I've had an opportunity to develop some cross-functional functional relationships very early on, and engage in several different learning opportunities that have expanded my business acumen, and also have allowed me to really continue to solidify those relationships and expand, I'd set the foundation really for expanding my career. That's really been quite intentional. And my support network is really very aware of my desire and my intention to develop my career further and put in the work to get it done. And so I feel really good about that so far with Hanover.
Awesome. And going in order, Kelsey, I think you'd be next here in your length of time. So what kind of career opportunities have you benefited from? And I mean, you've said you've been there since you were an intern. So how has that impacted, I guess, the entirety of your career so far?
Yeah, so for me, I've really been blessed to have been given opportunities to kind of run projects or initiatives that were large scale, that at the time I did not feel qualified or ready for, but I had people kind of advocating and supporting me, and I came out the other side with so much knowledge and so appreciative. So I was given the opportunity to project manage our Innovation Expo, which is a one-day kind of company-wide event focused on innovation. To be given that opportunity as an early in career employee, I learned so much what goes into planning a company-wide event, from marketing and communications and facilities and setup, and not only planning in the Worcester office, but trying to coordinate all of our field offices as well, leading a team and motivating people and kind of adjusting my project management skills based on how certain team members worked. And then just the general experience of coordinating with vendors and vetting external speakers, giving internal stakeholder updates, to be able to go through that for the entire planning year and all that came along with it was so incredible, and to be able to see the impact at the end. I also was able to project manage our Hanover mobile app for our insureds. Again, such a cool experience to see from start to finish what goes into building an app, and to again have something that touches so many of our policyholders. Another really, really cool one for me is I now run our IT internship program, which again, I started as an IT intern. So the full circle for me to kind of have had that be my foot in the door and then to be able to give back has been so cool. And again, maybe didn't feel ready to run that, but learned so much out of it and love it now. So for me, kind of the thread that ties all those together again are just people taking a chance or seeing that I have certain skills and letting me do those stretch assignments, and just loving them and learning so much from them.
Yeah, and that's so important, especially at this point in your career when imposter syndrome might be at its all-time high, although I feel like it never goes away from the experiences we hear in the community. But having such a supportive team that is going to encourage you to do those stretch assignments, it's really cool how you could come full circle with that. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And then Pam, I know you kind of touched on this in your first answer about how the Hanover was your first opportunity to lead your own team, but can you tell us more about those career opportunities that you've had and how that's impacted you?
Yeah, and I think the most interesting piece is it really kind of leads into what Kelsey just talked about and some of the things that she's seen in her own career. And, as I look at my career in Hanover, I started as a territory underwriter manager and then moved up to the commercial lines manager of the Wisconsin branch. And as we got bigger, there was more folks and then eventually into a CUO position for the Midwest region. And then more recently jumped over into the specialty space and have kind of spread my wings as a CUO of specialty casualty and in our Hanover programs unit. So a lot of those positions and along the way, the things that always got me ready for the next position was exactly what Kelsey was talking about. And it's those stretch assignments, those projects, right, that someone took, said, we have this project, we think Pam would be great for this, and it will develop her for that next role. So having those conversations so that, leadership knew what my next role, what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go so that they could help set me up and put me in the position so that I would have the opportunity to see what that's all about and then be really ready when that position came open. So, looking through all the projects and not only just within my own middle market space or specialty space, but cross-functional, Bridget kind of hit on that too, getting to network and know more people across the place and understand the different business units and understand all of the different functions within Hanover and just really having that background so that even when, even if there was an opportunity that came forth to me, I knew people and I knew who I could talk to and reach out to, and I had some understanding of maybe what that position would look like, and just had better transparency into, yeah, I can do that. Or I think that also helped with imposter syndrome, right? Because you kind of played the part without having all the responsibility when you're, kind of doing a stretch assignment or stepping into a branch that might need a little extra help. And, I remember before walking into the CUO role thinking, I've done some of this already. I think I can do this, right? So I think the stretch assignments, the project work, the networking, all of those things just really helped me, continue to evolve my career here at Hanover. And, have loved to hear that other folks are having those same conversations, because I think that makes us just all that much stronger and better. So
awesome. So now a buzzword that I think all of us hear constantly is this term of work-life balance. And that can mean something different to every single person. So I'd love to hear what it means to each of you and how you're actually able to achieve your form of work-life balance with the Hanover. Kelsey, I'll start with you on this question.
Yeah, thanks. So for me, I don't see work-life balance as kind of separating them and having time for work and then having time for my personal life, because work and life aren't completely separate. They blend together now more than ever. I mean, I'm in the office right now, but typically I'm working from my bedroom, and you can't get more work life ingrained than that. So for me, what's really important is that the Hanover offers things at work and in the office that kind of align with what I'm interested in within my personal life. So lots of volunteer opportunities are kind of encouraged across the company. So we do a day of caring where that's kind of a company-wide thing, and there's tons of different volunteer opportunities throughout, and that's something that really aligns with my personal values. And so knowing that our company supports that, and it's totally fine to kind of take the day and volunteer instead of being like, no, you've got project deadlines or things like that. Or the fact that we've got a beautiful campus and can take walks outside, or you can work outside at some of our outdoor tables, even do one-on-ones or take meetings outside. Again, just kind of a nice break from the actual work, or things that are offered within the building that kind of save me time in my personal life. So even little things like having an ATM in the building and being able to withdraw cash there instead of stopping on my way home, that kind of makes my personal life better as well. And there's tons of other stuff. There's the wellness center, we have a gardening club, dry cleaning, meditation. So whatever you kind of do in your personal life, we've got something here that aligns with it. And so for me, that's what I really appreciate, and that makes me feel like my work and life are balanced.
Awesome. With all those clubs, you're starting to sound like a college recruiter to me. I'm like, oh, I want to check out the list. Let me see what I can join. Pam, same question to you about work-life balance.
Yeah, so when I started at Hanover, my kids were 4 and 6. right? So they were little. And at that point, and continues to be like, I want to have a successful career, but be able to be present for my children. And at 4 and 6, they get sick, and they have very important school things that you need to attend, like donuts and for dads, or muffins with moms, and all of those kind of things. And it was just very important, and still very important to me, to be able to attend those events and be present for them, as well as have a successful career and be able to have that too. So for me and working at Hanover when they're little, I mean, they're 14 and 16 now, and we don't get to go to high school and do muffins with moms anymore. But, being able to have an employer that understood, like, I'm going to be gone for a couple hours, I'm going to work from home this afternoon because I need to be present, or I need to, leave a little early because I need to attend a sporting event or something like that. There was never a time that I felt that I couldn't, those two worlds were colliding and that I couldn't make them both work. And so for me, that was the really important piece of work-life balance, and continues to be as they're, even as they're growing older and don't need mom as much anymore. But, so for me, the work-life balance and just making sure that I could be present for my kids and be available at their events, and having an employer that really supported that, even prior to virtual and all of the things that we're doing today, where, people are working from home, Hanover was very supportive in setting us up and understanding that, you can work from home, you can, go to those obligations that you have for kids, and then come back and continue to work a bit. So that was the biggest piece for work-life balance in my world, given the ages of my kids and just being a working mom in general.
Yeah, and that's such a big thing in our community, is finding those employers who are actually going to respect the fact that, you have children and you have to take care of them. And, having kids can be a very messy schedule. It's not a perfect 9 to 5. And, the fact that the Hanover was so accommodating with that, that's really, really amazing to hear. And Bridget, I'll come to you for this last question of, work-life balance. And how are you finding that at the Hanover?
Yeah, I agree with Pam and Kelsey on everything that they said. For me, the word balance, I've always found that phrase rather interesting, because in my entire career, there's never been a balance. It's never when both of the scales are tipped, sitting right there at the same spot. The flexibility, and one of the nice things that it was kind of a sugar on top kind of thing when I came to Hanover, was finding out that my entire team, my entire department was working remotely, and I'm in Atlanta. And I love to travel, and so I miss being able to go up to Massachusetts and see everybody in Worcester. But the opportunity for me to be home when my children get off the bus it's everything. It's absolutely everything, because they need me. They want me to be here to help them with homework and welcome them from their day and get ready. It's just fantastic. And so I think the balance comes in working remotely, as I'm sure a lot of people deal with, is when do you turn off the work computer? Because it's right here. Like, I'm literally 10 steps from my bed, 20 steps from my master bedroom, so to speak, right? And the kitchen is just right downstairs. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've worked at, of, when it's 5 o'clock or whenever I'm done, get up and walk away from the computer. And that takes a little bit of practice, but I think I've gotten pretty good at it, because you kind of reach a wall at the end of the day. And when you've got children that are saying, "Mommy, hey, I need you," that's certainly a lot easier to be able to walk away from it too. And then that balance piece of it, there have been times when I'm done with homework, done being mommy, done being wife for the evening, so to speak, I come back to my terminal, and I might tap out a few more emails or something at 9 o'clock at night, right before I go to bed. That's what I mean by that balance. It isn't it just doesn't work perfectly like that. You've just got to fit it in. And so I think one of the things that's really cool about Hanover is they were already in this remote and accepting of this remote environment that I think a lot of companies were forced into with COVID. Hanover was already there. And that just made it all the sweeter to come to the company. And they'll be that way even after COVID is done too. I'm very confident about that. So that's a wonderful thing.
Bridget, I'm so glad you talked about how the balance is not a balance. That's one of my biggest gripes with the term work-life balance. It's it's never 50-50. And as you said, sometimes you have to spend more time doing the family stuff, but then other times you can come back at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. to your work and get it done. But the fact that the Hanover is allowing you that flexibility is really incredible.
It's everything.
And it's almost like you knew the questions I was going to ask you, because that leads into my next question. Of all of you touched on this, but right now, when so many of us and all of you are working remotely, how are you staying connected to your team, and how are you staying motivated right now? Pam, I will start with you on this question.
Yeah, so kind of the same thing as Bridget said. The majority of my team, I live in Wisconsin, and the best thing about Hanover is that I continued to advance my career, but didn't feel the pressure to have to move somewhere, right, to be able to continue to move and get promoted. So I live in the great state of Wisconsin, and most of my team is in Windsor, Connecticut, or I work with a group in Worcester and in California. So we've already had to kind of work through some of the virtual environments. The biggest difference is not being able to travel at least and get some face-to-face with folks. And we've made through some of that with, as Teams meetings and seeing people's faces as they're in front of you. We've done some things, just from a virtual perspective, where we sent everyone a gift card to have lunch on us, right? Because how many times do you go, hey, let's just go grab lunch, right? And not having that. So as a token of appreciation in our programs group, everyone got a Grubhub gift card and, said, hey, go grab lunch on us. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. One of the things that we've touched on and I talked about too is the piece of, and this is kind of gets back to how the work-life balance, but the piece of not having the commute home, right? And the 30 minutes in the car to unpack everything and kind of relax a little bit and then walk into the house, and walking up the steps for me just doesn't kind of give us that. So, just getting back to the work-life balance piece, I think that's been something that I've also had to really deal with. But keeping the teams engaged, I think the work that Hanover has done even prior, as well as, in bringing in teams and the videos has really helped kind of keep everyone engaged and motivated.
Perfect. And then Kelsey, same question to you. How are you staying connected with the different teams you're on and keeping everyone motivated?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for me, I was kind of lucky. Before working from home, I sit in the home office in Worcester. This is kind of our hub. I'm not used to kind of dealing with the virtual type of stuff. We'd slap a dial in on some of our meetings if we were working with someone from the field, but in retrospect, they probably couldn't hear us. It was probably a terrible experience. We never had video on. So what came out of this is I have such a huge appreciation for anyone that's working remote. And I think as a company, we really shifted there to be more connected in general, which is awesome. But also it was just a big adjustment for me. I'm really close with my team in terms of working with them and just a friendship as well. So we even sit in the same aisle in the office, and we've got our own kind of collaboration space. And so we are constantly collaborating and talking in the physical space, whether it's advice on next steps for a project or proofreading an email, something funny happened to us. We're just kind of always helping each other out and talking. And so to kind of stimulate that throughout the day, we now have a group chat within our Teams platform, which is what we use for conferencing. It's just always up to the side on one of my screens, and we kind of chat throughout it all day, whether it's something, again, funny or project related, and that just makes me feel a lot less isolated, or that if I'm facing a challenge on a project that I'm not doing it alone, and I always have those people right there virtually next to me kind of helping me out and being my virtual coworkers. And then we've been really trying to make time for non-work meetings too. So I know people are probably a little bit sick of happy hours by this point, but we are starting something new called the virtual water cooler. And we're going to do themed backgrounds for each time that we do it every week. So the first one's going to be our favorite fall activity, but we want to do favorite TV show, favorite vacation, things like that, just to get to know each other a little bit better and to always have something right off the bat to start talking about. So thinking of just ways that we can duplicate the things that we already do to stay in communication, and then also thinking of ways to do additional things to stay connected is how we've been really maintaining that.
Sounds like such a fun idea to be doing to keep everybody connected. Because as you said, the happy hours, there's only so many times you could say, so how was everybody's week? And it's just the same thing every time. I love that. That sounds really fun. And you kind of touched on this. So I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to stay with you here on this next question of how are you incorporating the Hanover Insurance Group's culture into your everyday work, and how does that impact your team? Like I said, you've already touched on it, but would love for you to expand on that.
No, that definitely aligns really well. So our values at Hanover are care, so collaboration, accountability, respect, and empowerment. And for me, those are not just words or something that's up on a wall that we never reference or anything. I'm constantly trying to refer to them, and you hear people talking about our care values. And for me, especially with my team, and kind of exactly what I just described, the collaboration piece is super important. And so maintaining that collaboration, we again are constantly talking about each other's projects and just helping each other brainstorm solutions or figure out next steps. And that makes us all kind of better as employees. And we really try and make our team meetings collaborative as well. So we build the agenda ourselves each week depending on what we want to talk about. That really hits upon kind of the empowerment as well. We don't have to have one person leading it or have our boss leading it. We really all have an equal say in it. And then it also helps us with the accountability and respect parts of it too. The fact that we really all can own our own projects and lead initiatives and have someone there to kind of ask for help if needed, but weaving in all of those care values to what we do as a team. And then I definitely kind of try and do those individually. Again, the collaboration one for me is a really big one. So if I'm ever stuck on a project, I'll just grab 6 random people that have nothing to do with it, throw them on a call and say, what do you guys think? Let's whiteboard this. And so that's just a really fun way to incorporate the culture into my actual project work too.
Awesome. And then Pam, same question to you about incorporating the Hanover's culture into your work and how that impacts your team.
So one of my favorite things about Hanover is definitely the culture. So I've felt it since the day I walked in 10 years ago, and it's not, to Kelsey's point, just words on a piece of paper. It's really lived day in and day out. So, a culture of empowerment and accountability with an emphasis on respect and collaboration, right? Like just those are really important words and values for myself, just personally. So being able to find a company in which I can live that every day, and the company actually lives that every day is really what makes me love working at Hanover. And with my team, it's really about making sure, especially even in this environment, making sure that they feel really empowered to be able to make decisions, to be able to do their jobs, right? So we don't have the ability today to be able to maybe drop into someone's office and say, hey, what do you think about this, right? And trying to mimic some of that. But if people feel empowered to just be able to make some decisions and move on versus, having to, maybe not bounce it off someone and all of those things, it just makes it the job that much more fulfilling. So, collaboration, we definitely do a lot of collaborating. I think we're all on meetings all the time and having conversations, holding people accountable to, the next steps and expectations is also really important. And then last but not least, for me, it's about respect, right? Making sure everyone feels respected and that their opinion matters, and that even if it's a different opinion, we want to hear it, we want to talk about it, and we want to kind of get it out in the open. So, like I said, one of my favorite things about Hanover is definitely the culture, and it's not just words on a paper. So I'm really glad that Kelsey said that too, because we definitely live it day in and day out.
Amazing. And then Bridget, to you as well, in the past year, how have you seen the Hanover's culture, in your team, and then how have you incorporated that into your own, work life?
Yeah, so again, agree with what Pam and Kelsey are saying, that the care values, everybody's breathing it, like the air at Hanover. And so it's very consistent. which I certainly appreciate. The message is the same, regardless of who you're talking to and what department you're in. And so many of the ways that they've talked about with each of those letters is the same in our department. The video that is allowing for that touch point, that ability to collaborate. I'm a face kind of person. I want to be there in the same space with my people and with everyone that I'm interacting with. And so in COVID, this certainly adds to it. And in a remote environment, this adds to that collaborative ability at Hanover. I think outside of not repeating everything that they've said, I'll say that what probably jumps out to me, certainly in that collaborative and that an empowerment area within care, is Hanover's reporting structure is a little flatter. So you don't have all of these layers that you've got to go up through to get a decision made. And there is an autonomy that is there with that collaboration that I think just speaks to the empowerment. Let's make a decision. If it's wrong, then we'll go and we'll try plan B, and nobody sweats it. And that's empowering. It's freeing. And it allows us, I think, to be a little bit more nimble compared with maybe some other organizations. I don't have to go up through 5 levels to get a decision made. I might just have to talk to my AVP and, we're good. Let's try it, kind of thing. And I love that. That's part of that fresh idea, fresh culture kind of stuff that I was looking for, to allow me to do the things that I know how to do and learn the things that I don't know. Without having to go up, a million levels in leadership to do so. So I appreciate that about Hanover and that care value.
Yeah. And I mean, it circles back to, I think what you've all kind of been saying is there's just like a level of trust that is there, that people want you to try these things. You want to try new ideas. And like you said, there's no sweat it if it doesn't go the way you want to. You just go back to your whiteboards, or your virtual whiteboards in this case, and just come up with a new idea. I love that. So Bridget, I'm going to stick with you on this next question. I know that Hanover has some business resource groups, otherwise known as BRGs. So do you belong to any? And if you do, which ones, and how has that benefited your career thus far?
Yes, so I would have to say that I belong to all of them, but my primary responsibility is in the co-leadership with Kinship Village. That is our African-American based business resource group. And when I came to Hanover, I was immediately tapped on the shoulder by my partner, Timmy Clemens. I'll give him a shout out because this was really his vision. And he asked me to help me and another gentleman named Tim Dillahunt to really get started and crack the seal at Hanover on having an African-American focused business resource group. And so we implemented that this past June and have had some really great success. I think that especially in today's current environment, it has been critical for Hanover. And it has been critical for allies in learning and in providing a platform where they can ask questions and we can have conversations. And I've certainly been able to help Hanover open the doors in some of our purposeful conversations and other activities that we're doing that give me confidence as a newbie to Hanover, that we're not just talking the talk. I am very much about execution and let's walk the walk. And I see Hanover doing that. And the BRGs that we have are certainly a great entry point to that. We have a great IND office that's allowing us that autonomy that I talked about just a few minutes, of that empowerment in the care values that I think is really going to allow us to catapult Hanover into the future, and Hanover is really pushing that, and that's something that I was looking for, and it's just been a great match.
That's awesome. I love how you were able to do that, so early on into your Hanover career as well. That's really exciting. And then Kelsey, I'll come to you. Same question about business resource groups, if you belong to any, and then which ones, and just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, same with Bridget. I try and be involved in all of them, but definitely have a strong tie as a co-founder and leader of Hanover United Professionals. We also call that Hanover Up. So it's an early in career group where we focus on professional development, community service, and intellectual contribution. And so we try and end up posting about one event a month that aligns with one of those initiatives. And I was very lucky to be one of the founding members and current leaders of the group. So I'll give shout outs to, just like Bridget, Cam Navy and Matt Thompson. And I remember we were just the three of us sitting in the convenience store, literally with a shared Google document, just spewing out our thoughts on what we thought this group could look like, what we'd want to do, what our focus would be, how the heck we would get started and get people to join us. And we had support from the company from the very beginning, from HR and from our managers, to really just run this thing. And it has allowed me to just learn so much and grow so many skills that have helped me in my job and in my life. So creating and owning a strategy, influencing without authority, how to have certain difficult conversations, and then just building connections with leaders across the company that I never would have come in contact with through projects. And it's led me to so many amazing opportunities at Hanover and even beyond. So I've just gotten so much more involved in my local community in terms of volunteering and understanding what's out there. I was asked to be on a board of an organization that we've partnered with through Hanover Up for a few of our events. I never thought I would be on a board, especially not this early in my career. And just so many other amazing opportunities within the company and outside of it. And it's something I'm so passionate about, and I love doing, and I love being able to grow my own career while hopefully helping others grow theirs as well. And the fact that, again, I do this whole program off to the side and still have the full support from the company and my manager and leadership to get my job done and to be able to do this, I think is so incredible.
Awesome. I love that question because it's a real glimpse into life at the Hanover, besides just your 9 to 5, day-to-day responsibilities. It really shows you like the other things that you can do while you're working there. So thank you both for that. And then this question, it might be a little tough, but what's your favorite thing about where you work? I just love hearing people's answer to that. Pam, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I kind of said my favorite thing about Hanover was culture, but as I think about that piece of it, I don't think that you have a strong culture without the people, right? So actually my favorite thing about Hanover is all the people that I work with and have gotten to know over my time in this space. So being able to network with folks across the country, right? And different business units and different departments, and just getting to know them and spend time with them and work with them on projects. And then even, some time outside of work, and really, developing friendships as well as, working relationships. So definitely has to be the people and the amazing people that I get to work with day in and day out. And I don't know all of them, but, the folks I've met have been amazing. So.
Awesome. Kelsey, same question to you. What's your favorite thing about working at the Hanover?
Mm-hmm. I definitely think the people too. But I will give some more examples, I guess, because I figured someone was going to say people, so I was trying to think of some other stuff too. I think the access to and support from our leaders is just incredible as well. So some examples right off the bat, I emailed our head of HR a couple weeks ago just saying, hey, would you like to meet to chat? She emailed me back and we had a one-on-one. Like, I just think stuff like that is so cool that they're so willing to meet with really anybody and take time out of their day. Or our head of IT has been kind of supporting and mentoring me throughout my journey here. An announcement went out that he is retiring. And for me, like, when I saw that announcement, my heart hurt. Like, I'm genuinely going to miss him as a person and a leader. And for me, the fact that I built that type of relationship with him, even being, lowest on the totem pole in terms of org chart, but never feeling like that, again, is just so cool to me, that I work at a company of 4,000 to 5,000 employees and still have access and build those types of relationships with our leaders. Even our CEO, I know he would say hi to me if I saw him in the hallway, or we have the Hanover Up event next week that he's actually coming to and participating in. And so to not only get advice from them, but to have them so involved and supportive of company-wide initiatives or whatever you're working on, I think is so incredible. And that kind of paired with what Pam was saying, just no matter what level, everyone being so willing to help is just such a positive and supportive environment, no matter what level you're at or no matter what level the person that you're talking to is at. And so I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that really is such a supportive environment, even during these, virtual times. You could say the fact that it's just so close knit is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure we have some people on this call who are currently looking for new jobs right now, because that's a lot of the reason why people come to Fairygodboss. So I'd love to hear from all of you. What's your advice for anyone who might be looking to pursue a career with the Hanover Insurance Group? Bridget, I will start with you first.
I had to unmute myself. I would say do some research, as you would expect anyone, to be doing when you're looking for a career. There's plenty of information out there about Hanover on our website, but I am a huge LinkedIn fan. And I'm pretty active out there, and I think that is the new business card of today, so to speak. And reach out and make connections with people. You can reach out and make a connection with me. I'm out there, and ask about the opportunities. Make those connections and ask, can I be connected with someone that I can talk to about this? Ask about the culture. Ask about the relationships, the flexibility, etc. Whatever it is that's important to you, reach out and ask about that. If you have connections even outside, within the industry, maybe in industry organizations, trade organizations, those are also great ways to be able to connect with people and to learn about Hanover as well. So that's how I would answer that.
Perfect. Thank you. Pam, same question to you.
Yeah, so I think, asking lots of questions and researching, and, I think the best thing about hearing just even the three of us kind of chat about Hanover is there's a lot of consistency in how we talk about the place and how we think about it. And so my biggest piece of advice is go for it, right? If this sounds like a place that you'd like to be, yeah, go for it. And, don't hold back and have confidence and come join us. Right. So, we definitely, for me, I haven't looked back in 10 years and love it here. And I would hope that you would feel the same way. So go for it. That's how I would, my piece of advice.
Love it. And then Kelsey, I'll finish up with you here on this question.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely say go for it as well. I hope what you get from this panel is it's a great place to grow your career no matter what stage it's in. And I kind of look forward to building my career and continuing throughout the years here. I think some important things to keep in mind are a lot of times maybe when people think about working at an insurance company, they think, oh, I have to work in finance or actuarial, but remembering that we've got kind of all the departments that a typical company would have. So we have marketing and HR and facilities and IT. So really whatever you went to school for, your background is, your current job is, we probably have a fit for you at Hanover. And then I think another important thing to remember is that you don't have to have a passion for insurance. I think a lot of the times when you ask anyone that works at Hanover how they got into the insurance industry, their answer isn't because I had a passion for insurance. It's usually they stopped by Hanover at a career fair, they had a recruiter, they knew a friend of a friend that worked here, and then once they started working here, they realized that insurance is actually pretty cool and there's a lot of different aspects to it, but just keeping in mind that there's more to it than maybe what meets the eye, and that it really is an exciting industry to be in. That's what I would tell anyone that's interested in it.
Insurance, may I also add, insurance is also stable. Our
Mm-hmm.
industry has proven that it has weathered through every type of economic downfall. You're there. Everyone needs insurance in some form or fashion. And to Kelsey's point, there's just a wide variety of that your major in school or where you are right now can align with an area within insurance. So Kelsey made a great point on that.
Yeah, keep an open mind. And I mean, as all of you kind of said throughout the conversation, I didn't hear one of you say, my favorite thing about where I work is the insurance itself. Typically, your favorite thing about where you work is usually the people. So I wasn't surprised to hear that, but I think that's a really great point to make.
But I think what you got to realize on that one is, what do we do in insurance? We are there when people are at their worst moments, right? We're trying to set people up financially so that they can protect their most precious possessions, regardless of whether that's on the commercial side of things or whether that's on the personal side of things. And so they're intrinsic in there is, you've got to care about people. And so it fits right in. Our culture fits right in with that. We are there when you need us and when you don't, but especially there when you are. That's the beauty of insurance, and that's the fun of it.
I love that. That's amazing. I'm seeing a lot of people echoing that in the chat as well. So I just want to say thank you to all of our amazing panelists today. We're about to jump into the audience Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them there. As I mentioned, we will be sending out this recording later today. So if you miss anything or you have to jump early, don't worry, we'll send it out to you. I saw a few questions already come in, so let's dive right in. I love this question from Kate here. And so this is going to be for Bridget and Pam, because it says, for those of you who are moms, what challenges did you face in your careers when you had your children? And how did you overcome those challenges? And that can be both at the Hanover or before it, however you want to answer. Pam, I will start with you on this question.
Sure. So again, kids 4, 6, when I started with Hanover, and just kids in general, even as they grow today, the challenges become with that work-life balance and lack thereof work-life balance, right? So, I would sometimes say that by the time I got to work in the morning, I already had 3 hours of work in, right? Like getting kids off to school and on the bus and all of those things. And it's almost like a reframe as you kind of get into the office and you sit down and changing completely, like, okay, now I got to get into business mode and, wipe off whatever my kids left on my shoulder, right? So working through those challenges has definitely gotten easier as they get older, right? So they're a little more self-sufficient, don't need to tie their shoes anymore and all of those things. So it's definitely helped, but it is about trying to maintain that balance and understanding that, have grace, right, with yourself, that, there might have been a bad morning, right, with the kids, and then to try to reframe and step into, super career woman mode sometimes makes it difficult, right, and give yourself a break and everyone understands around you that that's probably what is going on. And so it's lots of grace, I think, is the only way that I've overcome some of those challenges. I don't have all the answers, but I definitely know by, working through it and just kind of understanding that you can't be all things to all people all the time. So be gentle with yourself.
Yeah, that's great advice. And then Bridget, same question to you, talking about the challenges of being a working mom.
Yeah, I again agree with Pam. Even prior to Hanover, when the kids were born, I had vacation racked up, and I used that. And at Hanover, I'm newer, so I don't have mounds and mounds of vacation, but the flexibility, again, in the remote work, that is so huge. And I think that it is something that people looking for jobs, that's a requirement now. Can I work remotely? And it means everything for me to be able to, like I said earlier, for me to be here when my kids get off the bus and they don't have to enter an empty home. And, so to be able to help with homework, and I'm not gone all the time. And Atlanta has its reputation for horrible traffic, but, I'm not sitting on the highway an hour to and from work every day. And that's huge for that time as a mom and as a wife as well. So
Amazing. Thank you for both answering that. I think that's a challenge a lot of people are constantly struggling with in our community, is finding those environments that will respect the fact that you're a working mom, but then also internally and finding your own kind of balances at home. And I love, Pam, what you said about, having grace with yourself. I don't think anybody has all the answers, so nobody's going to blame you if you don't. So learning to recognize that it's never going to be perfect and you just have to make it work for you is really important. An anonymous attendee asked a really interesting question. What are you most excited about when you think about the Hanover's future? Kelsey, I will start with you on this one.
Oh, that's a good one. I guess this is more of a little bit of a not selfish answer, but I'm really excited to see kind of where we take innovation at Hanover and kind of what that means to the company. So I think there's a really big need for innovation and kind of thinking differently, especially in these virtual times. We have to constantly be challenging ourselves and thinking of other ways to do things, or kind of taking a pause and saying, is this the most effective way to communicate to our insureds and our agents, or to do this internally, or to run this team meeting? And so for me, I live and breathe innovation every single day, but a big thing that we're really trying to push is everyday innovation, and the fact that kind of everyone can be innovative and everyone is empowered to own those innovative decisions, whether it's the tiniest thing from you bring up a suggestion to run your team meeting a little bit differently, all the way up to, I think we've got a multi-billion-dollar idea if we went with this platform, and everything in between. And so I'm personally really excited to see kind of how we get there and how we look at innovation, not just from a project perspective, but kind of as a how we operate and adapt with these changing times type of perspective too.
And Pam, I'm going to ask you the same question about, what are you most excited about when you think about the Hanover's future?
Yeah, so the thing that I'm most excited about, I think, is how we will adapt, right? So I think everyone understands that we're in a really interesting time, right? So pandemic, virtual workspace has kind of forced companies to think a little maybe differently about how they've, approached the workforce and, working from home and work from home arrangements. And although Hanover was really well positioned, I think there is going to be an opportunity for us to adapt even more. And I feel like our culture and the nimbleness and the agility piece of our culture will allow us to take advantage of this versus getting kind of sidetracked and having it, kind of take us off our course. So very excited about, what the future holds for Hanover, because I think we're really well positioned to take advantage of kind of these changing times and become even a better company than we are today.
Bridget, I'm going to come to you for this next question. Julie wants to know, how do you recommend finding a mentor when you're newer to an organization and working remotely?
That's a good one. I think you've got to be willing to reach out. I am an extrovert, but a closet introvert. I don't have a problem reaching out to people. I remember when I first started, my AVP told me, she said, "My God, you've met people that I've never even met, and I've been here, for like 8 years already." I think you've got to be willing to reach out. I think for me, it was very easy, not only because of my personality, but because I was curious. I was new to the company, and I'm still doing that, reaching out, setting up meetings with people, and learning about the various areas of Hanover so that I can create this picture in my mind of what it is we're really trying to accomplish, as well as where the other opportunities are as well. That is huge. Along the way, I've picked up, and people, I think, watching what it is I'm doing in Hanover, have seen, okay, maybe this is somebody we got to pay attention to, and that has made those connections even easier, as well as me voicing, this is what I intend to accomplish at Hanover, and this is where I need your help on that. I've learned in my life, you got to ask for it.
And I always say, what's the worst that could happen if you ask? They say
Right.
no.
The worst they can say is no. Exactly.
It's not that bad.
Exactly.
This next question is from an anonymous attendee. And so Pam and Kelsey, I think you're both going to have different but interesting answers on this. So I'm going to come to both of you. Can you share your tips for dealing with imposter syndrome? Pam, I will start with you.
Yeah, so imposter syndrome, right, I think is real. It's, it's putting yourself out there when maybe you think, when are they going to figure me out? Like pretty soon they're going to figure out that I don't really know what I'm talking about, right? So, and for me, dealing with that piece of it, right? Dealing with that. And for me, the most important piece is understanding when that shows up for me, right? What are the situations that shows up? And then how do I kind of change that internal talk in my head and tell myself that, no, you've done this before, you know what you're talking about, you've got this, right? And so it's all about internal dialogue for me, and just really understanding that that situation is going to show up, and when it shows up, how do I talk myself through that? And being aware of it, right? So when you start hearing those things and you kind of feel that self-doubt come in, check yourself on that, and just being really aware that that's what that is. That's all that is. And let's, work through that through internal speak and building confidence.
Kelsey, same question to you.
Yeah, so definitely agree with Pam where it's important for me to kind of recognize when that comes in and kind of have a moment of kind of self-talk in terms of, nope, you've got this, you're equipped for this, you can do anything kind of that you put your mind to, even if you don't feel like it in the moment. And I've kind of learned to embrace that feeling, although sometimes in the moment I don't feel like embracing it, but just because I know when I get that kind of feeling of either fear or that I can't do something, I know that when I do it, it's going to feel so amazing. But when I do kind of feel like that, I try and figure out who I can meet with or what I can read or learn about to try and get up to speed to make myself kind of feel a little bit more confident, but also recognizing and kind of realizing that I don't need to have all of the answers and I can still lead something successfully. And then what I try and do as well is, again, not that I'm over my imposter syndrome in the slightest, but try and kind of help others through it as well by being a little bit vulnerable in terms of, things that I've had to do to get places, or sometimes, I don't know, maybe I come off as polished, maybe I don't, but even if I do, it's okay. Like I missed deadlines or I struggled through this, or the first time I tried that, it was a mess as well. Sharing those stories with people so that they don't always just see someone that's polished and think that they can never get there, and realize that no matter what, other people face imposter syndrome and other people face bumps along the way, and kind of just being really open about that has helped me kind of feel better as well.
Alrighty, I think we have time for one more question. So Bridget, I'm going to come to you. This is a question from Melody. She works in the same industry. She wants to know, how do you feel when you're not able to, assist your customers in a timely manner, especially during weekends? It's this feeling of, having to be always on, whether it's customers or bosses, I always have to be answering my emails whenever it is. How are you kind of dealing with that internal feeling?
I would have to say I don't have that feeling, and that's probably one of the nice things about Hanover. I don't get a lot of emails on the weekends, and I don't send them. And I even remember early on when I did get an email from my boss, she said, now I want you to know that this is not something that you've got to, I don't expect you to answer this 5 minutes after I've sent it, kind of thing, right? I think Hanover does a really good job, from what I've seen, of respecting people's time off and encouraging, leave, you're done for the day, go be with family, go do your thing. Because we recognize that people, especially now, need that mental break. We need to be able to turn it off so that we can be refreshed when we come back the next day or next week after we come off of vacation or something like that. So I don't feel pressured to answer emails all weekend long, and the culture at Hanover has not dictated that.
That's amazing. Alrighty, I think that about wraps up our time. So Pam, if people want to learn more about the Hanover and different job opportunities, where should they go?
Yeah, so for sure, I think LinkedIn's a great place to, put out there. I think, for sure connect with Bridget or Kelsey or myself. And then there's always Hanover.com, right? Making sure that you check out that. There's job postings out there for that as well. So we'd love to hear from you. I know even in my position, we have some openings. So check them out, and we'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again to all of our panelists. If you want to learn more about the Hanover, go to thehanover.com or go to the Fairygodboss page for the Hanover. They have their jobs posted there, as well as anonymous reviews and a great company overview. You can learn a lot about what life at Hanover is like. Thank you everyone for spending your time with us today. This is a really great conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and we'll catch you all at the next one. Bye.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.